parts, think Johnson's Parts and Supply. Your Auto Plus Auto Parts Store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
Your Tuesdays just got a lot better. The Good Soul, a feel-good show that dives into the stories of extraordinary people, is headed to WSIC. Host Patty Alvarez brings a sit-down, fun conversation to the airwaves to give you an early week pick-me-up.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Good morning and welcome to Thrive in Huntersville. This is the town's weekly spot here on WSIC Radio, where we let you know what's going on around Huntersville. My name is Nick Walsh, and I'm one of the 6 town commissioners, all who serve at large. I'm in my 3rd term and joined this morning by Anthony Roberts, our esteemed town manager. Good morning, Anthony. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how long you've been serving Huntersville.
All right. Well, Town Manager Anthony Roberts, as Commissioner Walsh said, been in this business for almost 30 years, been the manager in Huntersville for approximately 7 years, and I'm so excited that we're streaming live, to my hometown or maybe it's a town crossroads of Dauphin, Virginia, population 462. So I'm
nice.
Super excited. I'm sure everyone there is listening to me this morning. So
excellent. So this morning we're going to be talking about the budget planning workshop. Sometimes it's referred to as board retreat, budget retreat, but each year the town, just like all other municipalities, goes through a budgeting process. They may be a little bit different, but the purpose is to create a budget that has to be approved and implemented by July 1st, which is our fiscal year. Without it, we don't have any spending authority. And so I'll have you explain here in a minute the whole process, but to let folks know, it really started last week with a budget planning workshop. It was 2 days where folks, senior staff from the various departments, put on presentations, talked about what they did last year, what they're going to need in terms of personnel or equipment, et cetera, for the new year's. And it's really just a first chance to look at that. Couple things. The budget, again, has to be adopted by July 1st. However, budget amendments can be done after that. The one thing that cannot change is the tax rate. Once that's approved, it stays. And for this year, both the mayor and our town manager have said there will not be a tax increase. So if you can, just kind of, I know it's not just simply sitting down, writing some numbers on a piece of paper, but what is that process? How do we get through it over that, 6-month period?
I think you probably just ended the show. I mean, no tax rate increase. I mean, we probably could drop the mic and leave now, but you're right, Commissioner Walsh. I think that's a key component. That's something that the board, you and the mayor and board basically said, look, we're not raising taxes this year. So that's probably the most important thing as we're setting the budget. But the process of budgeting literally starts in November. So we started November. Staff internally starts to put a schedule together, think through the process. We have a calendar, and that calendar sort of lays out the framework and the game plan. We start early November. Budget retreats, typically it changes sometimes, January, February timeframe. Typically towards the end of January, maybe the 1st of February, depending on when we can get it laid out. But as you said, the whole purpose of that is so you get a sort of very first look at everything from operational to capital and how that all fits into the pie so that the board can adopt the budget. And as you said, need to adopt the budget by the end of June as a new fiscal year starts July 1. So we're in FY25 right now, and the way that works is FY25 budget is July 1, 2024 to June 30th of 2025. And so we were at the budget retreat talking about FY26, even though we're a little bit over halfway through FY25, you've got to start planning on FY26 budget.
Correct. And there are a number of steps along the way, including a public hearing. So at some point, your department heads will submit something to you. You'll boil it down to a single number or a single budget, and then you'll have your manager's recommended budget, including a synopsis up front, kind of the highlights.
Yep. You nailed it. So basically, after the budget retreat, we'll start sending information to department heads. They will deliver back their operational needs. You heard a little bit about sort of personnel, just very preliminary at the budget workshop, planning workshop. Personnel needs, sort of some of the ideas coming out of this budget cycle from the last budget cycle, and then some of the capital needs. We talk about CIP and things like that, and then we will fine tune that, hone in on that over the next several months, and we will come back to the board, have multiple workshops. All of these workshops are open to the public. Everything we do is open to the public along this budget process, and hopefully be in a position to adopt a budget around the May timeframe, probably the second meeting in May, and then obviously we have public hearings and be in a position to make sure we adopt it before the end of June.
Gotcha. So at our budget planning workshop, you had some sort of high-level goals. We're going to get a little bit more granular with the various departments, but you had started by kind of looking out at the next year, or I should say starting in fiscal 25-6. And what were some of the things I noticed in land use development? We've been working with CRTPO on a couple of projects, the Highway 21 tunnel, as well as the bridge over 73. And I know we'll be talking about that in a bit, but just want to touch on those.
Yeah, we started off the retreat with FY25 goals, current fiscal year. So how are we doing with those? But, are we achieving the goals that the mayor and board set forth at FY25? And then ultimately use those goals, hopefully, to set the FY26 goals, which we talked about. But in FY25, as you said, there are multiple, what I'll say, buckets or categories: land use development and planning, and I'll talk a little bit about those, finance, transportation,
Yeah, before you go on past finance, what kind of rating do we have?
So AAA bond rating, which is, if we don't keep that, the deputy manager, Jackie Huffman, will probably kick me out. So, but just been on the land use development planning, you talked about a couple projects in there. The 21 tunnel is basically a tunnel under 21 that will allow the downtown Greenway to basically go across under 21, under 77, keep on out Gilead Road, and you'll be able to cut north and go all the way up to Burkdale, and ultimately leads to a bridge over 73 that ties into the Greenway by Burkdale. So I know we're going to probably get into some of that stuff, but that's some of the things that when land use development planning, you're probably going to ask me about finance and the
Well, as I said, I just
rating.
wanted to just talk about our AAA bond rating, and that there's a high priority in maintaining that. We make sure we maintain that. Public safety, we're going to get a little bit more granular with that as we go through. Again, transportation. We'll talk about many of the projects. I don't know that we'll touch on CAT's new micro transit here in Huntersville. And then, of course, we've got parks and recreation, which we'll get into some more details on. I know that we're looking to create some new events. We had this year for the first time the MLK event. There's some others coming up here. We had Biketoberfest, etc. Anyway, we've got a few other things coming on. I guess we're going to have to make our first break for sponsors, so we'll be back in just a second.
Sit tight. We'll be back with more after this on WSIC 105.9, 100.7, 1400 AM. Local starts here.
Well, the groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, but that's not happening in the Carolinas. It's feeling more like an early start to spring. As we kick off a new work week, we'll do it on a mild note and getting warmer as we go throughout the week, too. Plenty of sunshine for your Monday. Temperatures will warm into the mid and upper 60s. We'll go back down into the mid-40s in the overnight hours. Sunny and 75 as we climb into the mid-70s for Tuesday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone,
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Bin 110 in Cornelius presents 3 consecutive nights of live music. On Thursday, February 6th, Anna Mertson performs. On Friday night, finalists from season 19 of The Voice, John Sullivan takes the stage, while Classically Rockin' offers up a big show on Saturday. Enjoy live music performances at Bin 110 in Cornelius this weekend. Calling all superheroes, wizards, and fandom fanatics, the Statesville Comic-Con is this Saturday at the Statesville Civic Center. The show runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets are only $5 for adults, $2 for those 12 years old and younger, and free admission for age 3 and younger. Make plans to bring your cosplay A-game, snag some epic merch, and enjoy all things comics, games, and pop culture. Whether you're a Marvel maniac, a Jedi master, or just love the vibe, the Statesville Civic Center is the place to be this Saturday for the Statesville Comic-Con. Sunday is National Pizza Day, and Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville is ready for you. From 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., the kitchen and bar are open for dine-in or take-out. Come and enjoy some good food and beverages or grab a to-go order in case anyone may be stopping by or you are visiting someone else. Come celebrate National Pizza Day Sunday with Ghostface Brewing. Get a behind-the-scenes look at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Dirt Track, and Z-Max Dragway. Learn the illustrious history of each track while taking in the sights and sounds of America's home for racing. Check out the special Race Week tours that can take you behind the scenes of some of the most famous race teams ever, or show you what the Speedway looks like when it gets ready to host a NASCAR weekend. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for more details and information on daily tours and experiences. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
All right, we're back with more from the Town of Huntersville on WSIC 105.9, 100.7, 1400 AM. Local starts here.
Welcome back to Thrive in Huntersville. I'm Nick Walsh, one of the commissioners here in Huntersville, and along with our town manager, Anthony Roberts, talking about our budget retreat. Now we're going to talk a little bit, so now we're going to get a little bit more granular, talk about some of the departments, their needs, and so we're going to go on to Public Works. People may not realize that roads in Huntersville are controlled by 2 different entities. NCDOT has most of the major thoroughfares. Think of that as 21, 115, Gilead Road, many others. But the town does the town roads, and some of them aren't as obvious, like we own part of Stumptown Road, but typically they're the ones that are back in the neighborhoods. We actually have 244 miles of town-maintained roads. And what happens is when a development comes in, they eventually turn them over to the town, and then the town maintains them from there. And we, the town, receive funds from the state called POW bill funds to help maintain those. But it's becoming a problem. Those 244 miles need to be milled and fixed up every so often. And right now, if we were doing them, it's $700,000 a mile to do that. We're doing about 5 to 7 miles per year, and that cost to the town would be about $65 million total. And so, I guess, Anthony, what do we have to do here? I mean, obviously, we're getting behind on town roads, or continuing to keep them up. But what's the long-term solution here?
Yeah, you had mentioned, I think you meant to say 270,000 miles. $270,000 per mile.
Correct.
And then times the 244 miles that we have equals at 66 million. Just a little bit on power bill. Basically, when you buy gas at the pump, ultimately, there's how we generate power bill dollars. That goes back to the state, and then ultimately, that's proportioned out to the towns based on population, one, and then the amount of road miles you maintain, as you said, the 244. But that's how towns generate that power bill dollars, which for Huntersville is roughly $2.2 million a year. $2.2 million if you only pay for paving streets. With that, as you said, not going to get very far. not only do you use that to pave streets, but you use that for sidewalk replacement and maintenance. So you have to think outside of just using power bill funds. We may have to use general funds to help pay for that. And based on those formulas, if we were to just go on paving 5 to 7 miles of streets a year, is what we currently did in 2025 and what we've done in previous years, it'd take roughly 36 years to repave all the streets in town. That's when we cycle back through.
And how long is the road really good for? Ballpark?
Depends, but probably 20, 25 years. Kind of depends on whether you got heavy truck traffic, amount of water run on it, all sorts of things, but 20 to 25. So, one of the things we looked at in this current fiscal year, we moved from 24 and be past that, or earlier than that, we used to do 5 to 7 years. Now we're 5 to 7 miles. Now we're doing 10 miles roughly. So if we start to pave 10 miles based on our current formula, which we're taking over more streets,
Right.
so we're gonna have to adjust that. That's a 25-year replacement. So we're getting closer to that life expectancy of the street. So we've got to continue to work on that to do a better job and probably continue to move that up to 10, 12, 15 miles of pavement per year.
So, and at some point, we're probably going to have to figure out a way to go into general fund balance to
Absolutely.
supplement it, because we're just not going to get enough from the state. In addition to roads, we do sidewalks, lots and lots of sidewalks around town. Again, same thing, PAL bill funds help take care of those.
We got
and-
like 340 miles of sidewalks that we maintain, obviously, because some streets have no sidewalks, some have one side of the street, some two sides of the street. So,
Right.
As you said, maintaining 240 miles of streets and 340 miles of sidewalks takes a lot of money.
Exactly. Along in Public Works, we have something called a solid waste fee. And so each year when you get your tax bill, there's a placeholder for solid waste. Currently, the number that we charge each household, and by the way, we provide solid waste or trash pickup to individual homes, but not to apartment complexes or to businesses. So that number right now is $154, but it's going up next year. Looks like the cost of the town will be roughly $5.3 million, and that only covers 64% of the cost. So what's your thoughts on that? How do we cover that gap?
It's something we're during our workshops, we'll have to have more discussion on, because the cost goes up because there's some CPI, Consumer Price Index, built into the contract. Also, tipping fees and things like that may go up. So as you said, Commissioner, that the price we anticipated in FY24 was about 4.9 and probably closer to 5.3. So that's something we'll have to think about. Some boards have chosen to put that into the tax rate. Some boards not, and that's more of a decision for the board to make. I'm sure we'll continue to have those discussions. So I don't have the answer right now, but it's something we will be talking about, whether we pass on those costs or continue to suck those up. But it's only going to get more expensive because there are more homes.
Right.
So more homes, more cans. We have 3 cans. We have a green can for what I'd say garbage. Then we have a blue can for recycle, and then a can for yard waste also. So ultimately, we provide 3 cans.
And people may not know that, but on average, 30 to 50 new homes come online each month here in Huntersville. So on to engineering. Again, projects completed in 2024. I know that we're both very happy to see those roundabouts done. I noticed that they started to do some landscaping, I don't know, probably about a month and a half ago.
Yep, that's correct. Quite a few projects. The problem with road projects, they seem to take forever. The smallest project can take years because you're dealing with, typically have to do some design engineering, then you have to buy right away, and then ultimately utilities have to be moved, and you go build them. So some of these projects can go on forever and ever. But just some of the projects in 2024 that we've completed was the Siegel 4th Street upgrade, which was widening that road. It's very tight street there. Homes are right up on the street, so we widened the road a little bit, put in sidewalk. It had no sidewalk, so we put sidewalk at least on one side of that street, and that's a north-south connector as you continue to move through downtown. 115 and 77, we got to look at other options that ultimately would take you from basically Walmart all the way up through Davidson. So that's a piece of that north-south connector that's on the east side of 115 that we're looking at. There are multiple, without going through all the sidewalk projects, we had multiple sidewalk projects throughout town. You mentioned the roundabout, and then obviously the resurfacing of all the town streets, the 5 to 7
And
miles.
I think we're also going to add some lighting at the two traffic circles, correct? The north and south?
Sometime? That's in the works. Lighting at both of the roundabouts. Roundabouts are still a somewhat new concept around here. Davidson has some, Cornelius, Huntersville has some already. But, and you would think the more northerners have moved down here, they're used to roundabouts, but we still have problems some folks have just sort of getting through those intersections. So lighting.
But we know they're safer because you can't get a T-bone accident at a roundabout.
Yep, they definitely are.
Okay. So a number of town road projects are underway. I mean, and we're talking about some big dollar items. They're too numerous to go through all of them, but there are three big ones: the Farrelltown Parkway, Gilead Road, and Stumptown Extension. Just like you to kind of touch base on any of those that.
So you said a number. There's 19 that we have underway, actually.
Exactly.
So that would kill the whole show if we talked about all 19 of those that are underway in some shape, form. And these are just town projects. Yep. Just go to exit 23. You'll see a very large DOT project underway. That's Orange Barrel City at exit 23.
The new diverging diamond.
And that's a diverging diamond and the 21 intersection improvements too. So a huge project. So these.
When do you expect that to finally be cleaned up? I mean, the traffic pattern changed, I don't know, about a month ago, 2 months ago. I
would say, right now they're working on some of the curb and gutter and some of the islands.
Right.
So what I would say some of the last components of the project, I would say completely done by the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
It seems to be flowing well. I know still some confusion. Folks are not used to that still. So like
the
roundabouts.
no left turns.
Yeah, the no left turns, but it seems to be flowing pretty well.
I think so too. I drive through it almost daily, and it's an intersection that I used to avoid and I can get through. Not far from there, of course, that's on Gilead Road West project.
Yep.
Tell everybody a little bit about that one.
Yep. So Gilead Road West is basically taking the improvements that are in front of the hospital, and it kind of ties into the project we just talked about, the Divergent Diamond and Gilead Road and 21. You're widening all that and creating flow through and going in front of the hospital. You have multiple lanes there, taking that out past Coy Road all the way out to, I'm trying to think now. Help me out.
Just past Winfield.
Past
Winfield Creek Parkway, and then it'll taper down a little bit.
I lived in McCauley for 13 years. I should know.
I know.
I rode that road a million times. But
I know, but that'll help at Ranson Road, at Winfield Creek Parkway, and at McCord Road.
So
McCoy Road.
Widening that out, curb and gutter sidewalk throughout that project, and so more flow through.
Gotcha. We've also got the Stumptown Road extension that's going to happen. Yep. That one is
a very big project.
A big project. It's going to extend Stumptown down past where it currently terminates on 21. And at that point, there'll be some railroad crossings associated with it.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we'll be right back. We are headed to a station break.
Sit tight. We'll be back with more after this on WSIC 105.9, 100.7, 1400 AM. Local starts here.
Well, the groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, but that's not happening in the Carolinas. It's feeling more like an early start to spring. As we kick off a new work week, we'll do it on a mild note and getting warmer as we go throughout the week, too. Plenty of sunshine for your Monday. Temperatures will warm into the mid and upper 60s. We'll go back down into the mid-40s in the overnight hours. Sunny and 75 as we climb into the mid-70s for Tuesday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, This is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Johnson's Parts and Supply, your Auto Plus Auto Parts store for 42 years, carries a full line of Wix filters for cars, trucks, and all types of heavy-duty equipment. Johnson's Auto Parts, your Auto Plus Auto Parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
How about savings off a brand new car? Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville. We've got our service loaners with just a few thousand miles on them. Save thousands of dollars on all makes and models. That's F-150, Expedition, Explorers, Lincolns, Corsair, Navigator. I tell you, these cars are like brand new. Never been titled. You're the first owner. Save thousands. Randy Marion Ford Lincoln, I-77, right here in Statesville. You know where we are, folks. Right where the spinning car is. That's where the deals are. Randy Marion Ford Lincoln. Come see us today.
Pizza night just got an upgrade. Stop by Pomodoro's for fresh, authentic Italian eats that hit the spot every time. Dine in or take out because good food is always a good idea. Check out Pomodoros.com for details.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Home of the best talk.
WSIC. Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. President Donald Trump's looming 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico and 10% duties on products from China are set to ricochet through households, raising prices for a wide range of items, including vegetables, fruits, and cars. Economists have warned that U.S.-based companies paying more to import products will hike prices to absorb at least some of the extra expenses. The president said he plans to talk today with Canada and Mexico ahead of the tariffs taking effect. They are set to kick in tomorrow, barring a last-minute deal. Trump is also threatening to hit the European Union with tariffs. And the trade war worries have investors on edge. The futures are tumbling this morning. Elsewhere, Honda and Nissan made a tentative agreement in December to bring both brands under a holding company. The tie-up, though, has quickly led to speculation about the future of Honda's highly profitable motorcycle unit. Honda's two-wheeler segment has already cornered 40% of the global market. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Number one for talk in Lake Norman, Statesville.
105.9, 100.7, WSIC.
All right, we're back with more on the Town of Huntersville on WSIC 105.9, 100.7, 1400 AM. Local starts here.
Hey there, and welcome back to Thrive in Huntersville. My name is Nick Walsh, Commissioner here in Huntersville, and I'm with Anthony Roberts, our Town Manager. Before we move on to Parks and Rec, I just did want to touch on our sidewalks. We have many miles of those here in town, and Anthony, why don't you tell us about a number of years ago when we started to look at inventorying them all, ADA compliance, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, multiple things on sidewalks. I think this board and previous boards have been pretty heavy on. Hey, we need to make meaningful connections, from point A to point B, where there are a bunch of gaps throughout town. So we have roughly 16 projects underway in various parts of town. If you go back and look at all of our stuff online on the budget workshop, you'll see where, just like roads, they're all over town in various phases. But 16 major projects that we're working on now. And as you said, Commissioner, about the ADA sidewalks. So ultimately, when sidewalks have a big raise in them or a big dip, we need to make sure we go out there and we fix those problems. So we have them all over town. Could be
That's Kevin Fox's favorite thing, our Director of Public Works, sidewalks.
Street trees can be a problem.
Yes.
They roots tend to raise them up, or may sink them down, or water leaks somewhere. So we're constantly fixing those. I told a story a little while ago. I think I said 340 miles of sidewalks is actually 304. So cut me a little bit of break. I transposed some numbers, but we're always out there fixing ADA, trying to make them ADA compliant. So then just the ramps themselves. There's a lot of times as you approach intersections, you see what we call the raised ramps. They have like a little bubble on them that obviously with folks who may have some vision impairment that ultimately they can. That's why those what I call ramps are there with the little raised bubbles on them that you see at every intersection. So replacing those and actually putting in those pads where there are none, because that used to not be a thing. You used to not see that. So we're constantly replacing those, and there's roughly 7,000 ramps throughout town that right now that we're looking at and replacing. So constantly spending money on sidewalks and roads.
And it's important because we want a walkable, livable community. Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation is celebrating their 30th anniversary. I saw this number the other day, and I knew the number was big, but we have 1.8 million people visit our parks every year. That's a huge number, and we continue to look at ways to improve it, new projects, etc. Currently, we have a number of different kinds of projects underway. A couple that I'd like to just talk about are, first, a couple of the Greenway projects. We have the Lower McDowell Creek Greenway project and the South Prong of the Clark Creek Greenway. And if you could just explain where they're at, our partnership with the county, which we so much appreciate, but just tell us how those are going.
Yeah, a little bit as you set it up. These greenways, if we were to wait for the county to build them, because they have greenways obviously all over the county, and they prioritize them. If we were to wait for the county, some of these projects were 25, 30 years out. So when I came on board, I was able to work with Dina Diori, the county manager, and said, hey, let's partner on these greenways, and let's look at partnership to advance those further along. So the town board obviously graciously said, hey, let's do that. And so we ultimately did a partnership where we pay for the design. We'll go with anywhere from 9 to 12% on some of these projects. Some of these greenway projects we're talking about are $35 million. So 10% of that sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yep.
Or we could wait 25, 30 years. I don't know if I'd still be living. So hopefully I'll get to actually use these.
Right.
So we did that throughout town. So all of our projects, our greenway projects, are funded. Our portion is funded and will get built. And the two you talked about, the Lower McDowell Creek Greenway, basically takes the greenway where it is now. We'll just say at Gillette Road,
Right.
Around Winfield area, and takes it all the way out to Beatty's Ford Road. And then the South Prong Clark Creek takes it from, we'll say, downtown Huntersville over near Vermilion Village, and takes it all the way out to Asbury Chapel.
And what is awesome about that is when those two segments are done, and the Greenway Committee many years ago set up that 30 by 30 plan that was connecting 30,000 people by 2030, and I think we're ahead of that goal, is you'll be able to travel essentially from the east to the west. I mean, from Asbury Chapel to all the way out to Beatty's Ford, and then north. And by the way, going under 21, under 77, under Gilead Road twice, and then go up along the west side of Winfield up into Birkdale. And when that bridge is built, the pedestrian bridge over 73 Sanford Road, up into basically Cornelius and Davison. Yeah. That's huge. That is we've come a long way in 7-ish years.
I mean, you could literally go from Asbury Chapel Road all the way over to Beatty's Ford, and if you wanted to loop back, and then go all the way up to north towards Birkdale, go through Cornelius, come all the way out over Davison by Davison Elementary, loop back around to Huff High School, come back down, and come up 21 and end up at Lowe's, and that ties all back in too, so to Birkdale. So I don't know how many miles it is, but
it's a bunch. I
doubt I'm going to be running it. Maybe I'll walk it one day, but no, it's impressive.
Yeah, it is. We have two fire stations, Fire Station 4, which currently exists, and the new, well, I say new, we purchased the land. We'll talk about it in the fire segment, but we are now master planning 2 new parks at those stations. You could touch on those a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Station 5 that doesn't exist yet,
Right.
out on Rama Church. So we were able to purchase roughly 25 acres out off of Rama Church in a great location for, I'm going to say more of a passive park. 20 acres of it would be for a passive park, but also roughly 5 acres would be for a new fire station. I'm going to save, you're going to talk about that, I'm sure, later and ask me about fire station, and so I'll say that. But we were probably looking this year's budget, as we talk about CIP, of combining those two together. If you're moving dirt around, it makes sense to do the fire station and the park at the same time. The master plan is, I think, going before the Park and Rec Commission, then we'll come back to the board for approval sometime March, end of February, March, and that way we would put that in the capital improvements plan. That's Station 5, and that Station 1 obviously takes some load off of Station 1. Station 4, which is in existence off of McElrain Road, when the town purchased that land many years ago, they had some additional land set aside. I think it was about 7 acres or so, that at one time we were looking at for fire training purposes, to have some additional land there to do training. However, CPCC has stepped up. That plan is actually going through the works now and coming before the board to provide training facilities on site over near the CPCC campus off of Veerhoff that will have training towers, et cetera. So we decided, and the board decided we don't need that land anymore for that purpose. So why not look at a park over in that vicinity, which is needed? So master plan has gone through, I guess, 3 meetings.
Which includes one of my favorite things, pickleball courts.
Pickleball.
I know you were surprised about that.
Yes, pickleball. I think
pickleball
it's
courts at
America's favorite sport, I think.
Station 4 are going to have some pickleball courts.
So pickleball courts, and then also there's a new Lake Norman Charter Elementary School going there. So partnership there in park facilities and using their facilities. We always try to look at partnerships wherever we can. Why build a gymnasium when you can partner with the school and build a gymnasium and have that dual usage? So that's a combo project there too with the school.
Gotcha. Let's move on to the planning department. Obviously, we don't have time to cover everything, but I know that we've got some long-range planning goals that we touched on during the budget workshop. I know I see one here, the downtown stormwater analysis. Maybe you could touch on that.
Yeah, as we build out downtown, and one of the goals of this board, mayor and board, was to make sure we build downtown. I would argue that there was not much of a downtown
I would
to start
disagree
out
with you.
with. So new stuff is happening. Obviously, 760 Brewery, North State, a bunch of restaurants going on the North State Development.
Walk 23.
Yeah, Walk 23. Many projects. So, as these projects build, can we maximize the stormwater capabilities there? Regional ponds, et cetera. That's what that's all about for that project, to maximize the usage of stormwater facilities.
Right. We got the coordinated Pottstown Community Preservation Project plan.
Yep, we started that. Had our first meeting. I want to say January 22nd, if I recall, and that's ultimately to bring Pottstown, make sure we have that connection to downtown, make sure we're providing right services out there. Great historical community that we want to continue to preserve, and also provide services out there. So that's what that plan is all about. Finding what the community wants and needs.
Right. And one of my favorite things to talk about is a WUNRF.
What?
The WUNRF. So just real briefly touch on the WUNRF that we've kind of scoped out in the downtown.
So right behind, I would say, the older buildings in downtown on Main Street, we're looking at doing some unique stuff on the street behind those downtown buildings for walkability.
Yep. So much more we could cover, but we got to go to a station break.
Sit tight. We'll be back with more after this on WSIC 105.9, 100.7, 1400 AM. Local starts here.
Well, the groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, but that's not happening in the Carolinas. It's feeling more like an early start to spring. As we kick off a new work week, we'll do it on a mild note and getting warmer as we go throughout the week, too. Plenty of sunshine for your Monday. Temperatures will warm into the mid and upper 60s. We'll go back down into the mid 40s in the overnight hours. Sunny and 75 as we climb into the mid-70s for Tuesday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Bin 110 in Cornelius presents 3 consecutive nights of live music. On Thursday, February 6th, Anna Mertzen performs. On Friday night, finalists from season 19 of The Voice, John Sullivan takes the stage, while Classically Rockin' offers up a big show on Saturday. Enjoy live music performances at Bin 110 in Cornelius this weekend. Calling all superheroes, wizards, and fandom fanatics, the Statesville Comic-Con is this Saturday at the Statesville Civic Center. The show runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets are only $5 for adults, $2 for those 12 years old and younger, and free admission for age 3 and younger. Make plans to bring your cosplay A-game, snag some epic merch, and enjoy all things comics, games, and pop culture. Whether you're a Marvel maniac, a Jedi master, or just love the vibe, the Statesville Civic Center is the place to be this Saturday for the Statesville Comic-Con. Sunday is National Pizza Day, and Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville is ready for you. From 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., the kitchen and bar are open for dine-in or take-out. Come and enjoy some good food and beverages, or grab a to-go order in case anyone may be stopping by or you are visiting someone else. Come celebrate National Pizza Day Sunday with Ghostface Brewing. Get a behind-the-scenes look at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Dirt Track, and Z-Max Dragway. Learn the illustrious history of each track while taking in the sights and sounds of America's home for racing. Check out the special Race Week tours that can take you behind the scenes of some of the most famous race teams ever, or show you what the Speedway looks like when it gets ready to host a NASCAR weekend. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for more details and information on daily tours and experiences. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
All right, we're back with more from the Town of Huntersville on WSIC 105.9, 100.7, 1400 AM. Local starts here.
Hey, and welcome back to Thrive in Huntersville. My name is Nick Walsh. I'm a commissioner here in the town, and I'm here with Anthony Roberts, our town manager. So we're going to go on to public safety and start with police. During the presentation at our budget workshop, Barry Graham, who's our police chief, did a number of presentations or covered a number of different statistics, but one of them that was most impressive is that crime is down for 2024 in Huntersville. Even though we're adding more people, it's actually down. Our Part 1, the UCR crime Part 1 and UCR crime Part 2. Part 1 is your more serious crimes, murder, aggravated assault, etc., and Part 2 is your nonviolent crimes. But anyway, those were down. What was up, not surprisingly, because you have more people, is traffic crashes. And he introduced a kind of an interesting concept. Again, it has not been adopted by the board, but we're going to be seriously looking at it. But in a number of municipalities around North Carolina, including Raleigh, Wilmington, and I believe now in Charlotte, they're getting ready to roll theirs.
Yep.
Greensboro. Charlotte's getting ready to roll out what's called civilian crash investigators. And these would be non-sworn officers who would respond to traffic crashes. And again, about 81% of our traffic crashes don't involve injury. So we have a lot of got hit in the parking lot, dinging here type of thing. So tell us a little bit more about the idea of potentially hiring 4 traffic crash investigators and what they would do.
Yeah, I think you hit on it. It's new concept. Some towns have been doing it. Legislation passed in the last year or so that allowed towns to look at civilian forces for this type of activity. What I would say is hiring police officers is tough. The pool is not as strong as it used to be. Not everybody wants to be a police officer. I wonder why. Right. But so we have to look at different techniques of, can we take some of the duties that are, where you don't need a gun and a badge per se, and use civilian forces for that. And we have some of that in other areas that we'll probably talk about. But from a crash standpoint, I think you nailed it. If 80% of them, I'm going to say, are minor,
Right.
why can't someone without basically a gun and badge do that? And that's what this is all about, to allow the police officers to do more important police work. Not that this is not important, but more what I would say regular police duties, and allow civilians to be able to do this. If it's a bump up in the parking lot, a lot of times what happens, we exchange basically insurance information. Why can't a civilian force do that? And that's what this is all about. They'll look at property damage, crashes, traffic control. So they could do some traffic control if there is maybe a major wreck, and the officers really need to be dealing with the injured. Maybe the civilian crash force team could be out there directing traffic. So they will still be working together. I mean, ultimately, that's what will happen. And then there's a lot of documentation, paperwork they can do, and then the officers focus on other things. Police officers will do other things. And some of the benefits of this is increased availability. There's cost savings to this because you don't have to have a lot of the training that BLET training, et cetera, that other officers would have. There's specialized expertise, and then we'll be able to improve responses. And I think that's key. If we have a ton of accidents, as you know, all over town, to have that response, to be able to respond quicker and be able to handle those, I think would be.
Right. And these guys will not be wearing uniforms, although they'll be clearly identified. Probably driving pickup trucks. Again, no blue lights on them.
That's correct.
But they'll also have radios where they are tied into the same dispatch channel as our regular officers. So if they need help, they can quickly summon help. So again, we talked about clearing roads, improved service, etc. The police department has grown a little bit over the last decade or two. Right now, they've pretty much outgrown their current facility, and we're looking into. I think at some point we're going to have to face, building a new police station. That's not tomorrow, the next day, or next year. But tell us a little bit about their space needs.
Yeah, so we're actually doing a space needs study right now. So probably folks who've been around a while remember, police department was over in the small building where 760 Brewery was.
Yep.
And then ultimately,
I remember when that was the police station.
Yeah, and that's 7,500. Depends on what you look at. 7,500, maybe 8,000 square feet. You can imagine how long that lasted. It seems like a 10, 11 year sort of fix, and then ultimately a building came available in the Huntersville Business Park, and the board at that time jumped on it, ended up getting a reasonable price on that building, and ended up upfitting that building, and that's where the current facilities are now. But think about how much the town has grown. So we are jammed for space, and thus you heard at the budget workshop that we really need to start looking at additional space. There may be some additional short-term space potentially in the third floor of town center when we move out potentially, but long-term we've got to look at additional space. No different than we've just building a brand new town hall. Town's growing so much that we need to find a longer-term, 50-year fix, not a 10-year fix.
Right. We're also looking at SROs for our elementary schools, correct?
Yep, that's something new that mayor and board brought about this year that to look into. Typically, you don't see SROs at elementary schools. You see them at middle schools and high schools. I think Cornelius may have started it this year or last year, and that's something we're looking at, maybe bringing on 3 SROs, and each SRO would handle 2 elementary schools.
Got it. Just briefly touch, I know that it's the magistrate. I know that that comes up. It seems like it's been coming up for years. What's the challenge there, and why don't we have one up here?
I think we've been talking about that. It's like a road project. We've been talking about it for 20 or 30 years.
I think road projects get done faster than this.
Maybe so. I think we've gone through multiple mayors and probably managers in multiple towns. It's complicated in the way they divvy out magistrates throughout the state. So Mecklenburg County only gets so many, just like Wake County, et cetera. And then just filling the spots. The pay is horrible.
Right.
So no one wants to be a magistrate. And so that's in multiple issue there, but we have offered up space to try to get a magistrate up here in the North Mecklenburg area. So we've offered up space in Huntersville PD and are ready to move forward with that. But ultimately, there's always turnover too. Judges turnover, so chief judges turnover. We make those calls, but it's sort of like police officers can't fill the spots, magistrates can't fill the spots. So ultimately, it's been ongoing for 20, 30 years to try to get a magistrate. I'm hoping here we can get some movement on that this year, but it's been long, drawn-out fought.
We'll keep trying. Move on to the fire service. People may not know that this year, for the first time, Huntersville has a full-time municipal fire service. This board, it was originally, and we don't have time to get into the whole history of it, but it was actually a nonprofit that provided excellent fire service to the town of Huntersville. But we finally reached a point where we needed to incorporate that into the town. Currently, we have 4 fire stations, stations 1, 2, 3, and 4. Response times for our station 1 are way up, and we're looking to build a new station 5 out on Rama Church, correct?
That's correct. Station 5, along with the park we talked about earlier. Station 5, Station 1 has a majority of calls, almost triple of any other station we have. So ultimately, Station 5 will pull some of that call volume from Station 1 out off of Rama Church Road. And then, anybody's familiar with the area, we have a lot of growth going out in that area, 73 corridor, Symphony Park, multiple neighborhoods out that way. So that station will come online like anything. You got to design, build. It's probably at least 2 to 3 years out before you get permitting and build a station. So we need to start on that sooner rather than later. So that will be in the capital improvement plan for the board to consider for this fiscal year to move forward.
And one thing I found interesting, I guess I partially knew this, but obviously for a fire station, you need a fire truck. Chief DeToli has asked us already to order a fire truck like this year, or actually I should say for the new budget year, for a fire station that may not be built for 3 or 4 years.
Sounds crazy.
Sounded crazy to me until he said it takes 3 years to get a fire truck.
3 years. So you have to order a fire truck now if you want it 3 years from now. So sounds crazy. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. We're talking about $1 million for a fire truck.
Yeah, depending on what kind it is. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, these ladder trucks are
they're even
well
more,
over
yep.
$1 million.
Yep.
But a basic sort of truck that meets our needs are going to be, $1 million basically.
Right.
And some of them get up closer to $2 million.
Right. So we'll be ordering that probably for the new fiscal year. We also have not only the need to build a new station, but our Station 2, which was built in, this is crazy, 1967. So
I hate to say it, I wasn't born then.
Well, they built it before you were born, but that we're going to need to replace that fairly shortly, right?
Absolutely. So we're looking for land to replace that now.
Gotcha. Station 1, which is in downtown Huntersville, was built when we've got some challenges there. Just like Station 2, we don't have, it was built for a time when people went to the fire station, jumped on a fire truck and left. Many of these places don't have sleeping accommodations for both male and female firefighters. Other challenges with space, they didn't have the locker rooms, office space, etc. So when do we think we're going to start looking at the replacement for Fire Station 2 and Fire Station 1?
So both of them ASAP. Working with Huntersville Elementary on some of the land there for Station 1 replacement. Station 2, more over off 73. So we should have those, hopefully this year, get those in the right move.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate that. Well, we thank everybody for listening to Thrive in Huntersville. Again, Nick Walsh, Town Commissioner, and along with Anthony Roberts. Please continue to tune into Thrive in Huntersville every Monday from 11 to 12, and it's live streamed on the WSIC Facebook page.
Locations in Mooresville and Cornelius, or book your next massage at SerenityNowMassageAndWellness.com.
that's not happening in the Carolinas. It's feeling